Alright guys, thanks for watching another edition of In the Shed with Red. Today we're going to start working on our Ford 1210. I've had problems where this baby will begin to overheat every time I cut grass with it. So I use a finish mower out on our farm. First time I overheat with me, we were doing food plots, and I'd run the bush hog for about an hour and a half, and all of a sudden my light came on. My water was low that time. I thought that was the big problem. Came home, flushed it out, put new fluid in, new radiator fluid in, antifreeze. Still took it out the next time, did it again. Came back, flushed it again, even bought some radiator flush that time. I drained everything through the block. It's draining fine. It's not like it has a bunch of gunk built up in the lines. My fan turns well. Several little things that I thought might be a problem are not. So now we're at the bigger issue of where I took a better look at the radiator, and it appears that I had a stick or something along the time frame, or maybe even the person who had it before me, and the fins on the radiator are actually crushed. And you can't see it now in its state, but I'll show you whenever I pull it off. So I've ordered a new radiator, should be here in a few days. First step today, we're going to drain the fluid, look at how we should be able to take this thing apart. I'm going to play it by ear, we'll figure it out. So Ford 1210, there's about 4 or 5 years of these in the 1980 range, mid 80s. They were made, they're actually out of Japan, so don't let the name Ford fool you. But the radiator itself is pretty clean, but down here there is some damage, and I can't show you because of the alternator, but what I can see so far is I have to take the fan shroud off. We'll pull the hoses off. I've already replaced these as one of the initial steps. However, that did not change anything. This is our vent here, or our screen. It simply slides off, and it looks like I really only have to remove this one mounting bolt here that's holding this thing into the sleeve down here. If anything, there's a screw here and on the opposite side that will change out. So step one, we're going to drain the fluid, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we have all the screws out, I believe, now. The radiator is drained. I spilled some on the floor like I always do. But primarily the only thing holding it in is this bracket. So you pull this bracket off. You don't actually even have to take the fan shroud off. I'm looking at it now, but I did. This is a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. These bolts right here, you have 1, 2, and you have 2 on the other side. They're 10 millimeter. I went ahead and took the air vent off. It's just a 10 millimeter holding it on to the air filter, and then pop your hoses loose, and basically the thing will fall out then. So just pick it up and show you my problem here, or I believe what's the source of my problem is this right here. It appears that a stick at some time came in, or a wrench or something along those lines hit the fan and then ended up damaging my radiator. There's also some spots on the side as well, but I think this is my big culprit. So the new one's on the way. We'll get it put back in. Oh, and on the radiator itself, the tab to drain is here. It's just a simple screw. One thing you have to watch for on these older ones, though, is you don't want this to break off. Mine was free, so it wasn't a problem, but I've seen other videos where they will break, and then you are toast and you have to get a new radiator. All right, so I got something I want to show you that I'm going to have to work up on my own for this radiator change. On the old radiator on the bottom, this is the bottom here, it has these grommets, or rubber grommets, that set to support it up off the frame. They're bolted on underneath. It appears that the grommets are then in here, and then there was a bolt underneath. The problem is this tractor's so old that everything's rusted to pieces. Now the new radiators come same size, but it does not have the rubber grommets that go with it. It does have the bolt holes for it to go into, but it doesn't have the grommets to go through. So what I had to do is I actually had to grind, pardon the other noise, but I actually had to grind the old bolt out and pop it out with a pin hammer. And so I'm going to go to the parts store and get this doesn't have a hole through it now, but I'm going to make one drill it out, and then I'm going to run a bolt through the bottom of here, through my grommet, and then into the bottom of the radiator. Alright, so I actually didn't have to go to the store. I found some bolts laying around that will work. So I'm just going to thread through here, put another washer on top, and then I'll use the rubber grommet, drill a hole in it, and I'll slide it on top. And I'm going to try to do this one-handed. I've already done the same on the other side, and set this radiator on. And see if I can screw it in here. At least get it started. Yeah, sweet. Okay. Alright, awesome. We'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll hook up the rest of it. Alright, so I've run into another little bit of a problem. This is an aftermarket part, and therefore the shroud does not fit exactly as it did on the old radiator. You can see, let me get right on my hole. If I'm right on my hole, I don't know if you can see that in the video or not, but the hole, I can't get quite close enough because of the lips on the radiator, top and bottom. This is all the way around, and it's keeping me out. I can get one screw in appropriately, but the other three I cannot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the shroud, and I'm just going to come and I'm just going to cut the lip off all the way around. Seems like a lot of work, and really it is for a part that you pay $300 for. But I want the shroud on to protect it, because I am certainly going to put it to work and put it at risk for being damaged again in the future. Alright, so after way more work than what it should have been, I have the fan shroud back on. I've got one bolt that's stripped out. I'm going to have to go get a new one. I don't have one to replace. But I basically just trimmed the edge off around and the upper lip. Didn't really want to do it, but this fan shroud doesn't fit with the new radiator. It's a little bit bigger, just a 1/4 of an inch wider, and unfortunately screws do not meet all the way up on the other side. I'll show you. So I got this one in, I got the top in, but on the bottom, it is snug, but I don't have the actual screw in, so we're going to fix that. If not, it's going to end up shifting and vibrating, making way too much noise. The upper hose is back on, the lower hose is on. We're going to put the top bracket back on now. Right here, we just rolled it back previously, put it back. Put the screw in. It's a little bit of impact. This is low grade. Tighten back down into the block. Okay. And she is solid now. Put our breather hose back on. And we'll be ready to fuel her up. On this model mower, to drain the block, you have a plug right here on the right side of the tractor. Mine's free. I got lucky with mine, and it works well. You can see that on some other tractors, some other videos, people have problems where this will get stuck and get frozen in. Luckily, this one broke through very easily. I've used it before. You simply just open it up. It won't fall out. It'll reach a point where it'll just stop, and you just allow it to drain. See, my water's pretty dark and nasty. There's not a lot of sludge, not a lot of debris in there. What's actually in the bottom of that bucket, trash-wise, was already there. So we'll let this water drain. It's actually pretty clear coming out. We'll let it drain. I'll get some new antifreeze. We'll fill her up, see how she does. All right, so things I like and things I don't like about this radiator. Number one, I don't like the cost, but radiators are expensive. It was a last resort for this project. Another thing I didn't like was the way that the bottom mount was, and having to pull those bolts off, those rubber grommets, having to fix that. I'm not exactly sure if this radiator should come with that or not. A few other things is I don't like the way the shroud worked. I'm pretty sure this is the original shroud versus the an aftermarket one someone is thrown on, but I feel like that should fit this part appropriately. and it doesn't. I had to make some modifications to get it on, but I definitely want my fan protected to keep from damaging this radiator as well. Another thing that I do not like is it didn't come with a hose. I've got a makeshift hose here that I found in the shop for my overflow. 300 bucks, man. Send me a rubber hose. Otherwise, for the most part, this works good. So you watched my video on replacing the radiator on my 1210 Ford tractor, small horsepower, 17 horsepower tractor. Had multiple problems. I'll show you the old radiator one more time and the reason why I believe that we had to replace this. I haven't put this baby to work yet. We'll try it next week and see what happens, but you can see right here damage where either I've hit something or someone else has hit something before me, but obviously I believe this is my big culprit. I also have some other areas where the fins are bent, but I don't think that's the ultimate factor here. And this tractor was made in the mid 80s. It's as old as I am, so my knees are wearing out too. All right, so we did the radiator change last week. Had some time to get out to the farm this morning. I worked this little baby hard for about 2 hours, and she has not run hot, so excellent. I hope this is the final part to getting that overheating situation under control. We'll check the coolant level whenever we get home if she cools off. Otherwise, she ran great. Happy with what I have at this point. If I run into any problems, my next step would be the water pump. You can't get to the thermostat on these, I don't think, unless you pull the water pump off. So that would be my next step. Hopefully we don't get there, but if we do, we'll make a video. Thanks for watching In the Shed with Red. Just a disclaimer, I'm just a shade tree mechanic doing little ins and outs on my shop and on my small equipment. So these are things that I find and I fix in my own manner. If it's yours, you can use this information, but you do it at your own discretion. Thanks for watching.